I'm breaking things, and I'm not really in camera. That's fine. 'Cause we can adjust pretty easily. There we go. This is fine. This is fine. Now we gotta check the audio balance because that is a perpetual issue. Let's see if the music wants to start, and then we can see how everything sounds together. If the vibes, if the balances, if everything is all right. I it feels pretty fine. God, apparently you can hear the phone. That's interesting. I I think it. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good. Okay. Okay. So, salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Sikiyama, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar, and welcome to my second stream for the Trans Rights Readathon. Last time I did a reading sprint. If you didn't know, we're this week for the 20th through the 27th. We're doing the Trans Rights Readathon across most of the social media platforms. Am I good? We try to be good. We try to be okay. But yeah, we're doing the Trans Rights Readathon across most of the different social media platforms, reading trans books to help raise money for different fundraisers, charities across the. I think pretty it doesn't matter where you choose to have your charity support. It is just primarily that main thing is support trans communities. I know one of the big things that spurred it is that there's a aggressive amount of anti-trans legislation going on in the US right now, and but that's going on worldwide. So if you want to support trans people in any of the countries, go for it. I am personally hosting a fundraiser for the Transgender Law Center. That is the first link down in the description. And then we are also doing book streams, and then we did a sprint, and then this time we are doing a book video on the books on my TBR because honestly, my TBR is never ending. It really, really unfortunately is. And so we just want to chat about some of the amazing trans books that are out there, including the ones that I really, really, really want to get to reading. And in the background, I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but there's a cat, Nugget. You are playing with plastic and making noise. So he's just going to be making more background music for us, really. Yes. He looks so guilty now. It's the worst thing with a never ending TBR is when you hear about a book and you're like, oh my god, that sounds absolutely amazing, let me add it to my Goodreads. I use Storygraph mostly, and then you find out it's been there for a year. And it's just embarrassing, but at the same time, I know I add books to my TBR infinitely faster than I can read, so I know that that's bound to happen. The first book that I'm talking about today is actually the book that I'm currently reading, and that is Dusk by Bo Van Dellen. It is the book that I am reading, that I've been reading for the Trans Rights Readathon, and because I want to read all of these descriptions of the books. This is also an indie book. I think almost half, because I think I have 9 books on here, and almost half of them are indie books, which we love to support indie books here. As an indie author, I love to support other indie books. And it's something I actually really want to be more conscious of this year. Last year, I got access to a library card with library ebooks, and I completely forgot about indie books last year. So we want to be more intentional about reading other indie books this year. And sometimes you don't remember if you read. Oh, absolutely. Completely for the worst, you forget where you heard, like who recommended to you or where you heard about it, and then you end up recommending it to a person and they're like, yeah, I told you about that book. It's because the TBR is basically a black hole at this point. And sometimes you get something out of it in good time, other times like time doesn't work right with a TBR. So this first book, Dusk by Bo Van Dalen, it's 448 pages. It is a fantasy with some dystopian elements to it. In the daylight, Indigo is the perfect daughter. In the shadows, he is a master of forbidden alchemy. Set in a fantasy world on the grounds of a magical school, a trans warlock fights against a dystopian society with the help of his friends. Having already started this book, it is already so good. It is already so good. The writing of this book has me completely just obsessed. I'm addicted to it. And it, honestly, I'm mentally stressed over this book because so much has gone on. Like, so much had gone on at, like, the 20% mark that now I'm almost halfway through the book and I'm just stressed. I feel like something's going to happen to at least one of these characters. Like, nothing's going to be okay. It can't. I know it can't because of how we introduced the whole story. I know things can't go smoothly from here. So I'm just in a constant state of stress as I'm reading this book. But it's absolutely phenomenal. Another thing that I have is I do love to write a book where you have a main character, like one character's like head over heels in love and then the other character is completely oblivious. Reading that, oh my god, do I want to just slap Indigo across the face. And why are you like, Indigo, he likes you, stop being rude. Like, oi, why are we fighting? Why are we fighting, cats? Oi, Coco. God, my children are being reckless. They're being wild. But like he's like, oh my god, this dude is so handsome, but I can't let myself trust anyone. I can't let myself form connections. And so he's being just a dick to this guy, and this guy is literally like, I'll be yours if you want me to. And Indigo's like, what does he mean by this, bro? You want to see the kitties? I can kidnap one for you. I can kidnap probably one, maybe two kitties, because, but like once I have four, but once I kidnap two of them, the rest will hide. Yes, yeah. Okay, so this is Coco. This is my princess, who is super hyped up right now. She's being quite the troublemaker right now. People wanted to say hi, ma'am. You gotta pose for the camera. This is Coco. She's absolutely spoiled. She loves to hang out with me and my husband in the bathroom, and she will scream. She will scream constantly if we don't let her in. And right now she's very energetic, so she's harassing her brother. Oh, she's so spoiled. She's so cute. Let me get my big one. Let me get my big guy, because he would love the attention. He would love to come hang out in my lap for a little bit. Chip! Here you go. Here you go, me grumpy gums. Come on. Okay. And this is my big cat. His name is Chip. He has a little chip in his ear. Let's see if we can sit down together. Here we go. He is... Here's his Chip. He is a cuddle bug. He is an absolute... Like, we spoon most every other night. This guy, oh, now he's purring. He's so happy. Yeah, he's just a cuddle bug. He's happy here. What's a Maine Coon? Hey, yo, he's so baby. He's so baby. Yeah, what's a Maine Coon? I don't think I know what that is. Oop. Wait, you're shaking in my face, buddy. Okay, you get comfortable. It's a breed of cat. I don't know any breeds of cats. I just know that some have short hair and some have long hair. That's about it. I don't know any breeds of house cats. Let's see if we can figure out what a Maine Coon is. Maine Coon. Oh, these. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very cute cat. The pointy ears. They've big fluffy hair. Do they get... do they always get this big? Because I see one that's like massive. Very massive cat. There you go. There you go. Okay. But yeah, that's Dusk. Do you want to hear about the next book? They're all massive. God, that I wouldn't hate it. I would love it. I would just need that cat to allow me to use it as a pillow. That would be the main requirement for it to stay in the household is pillow time. The next book that is on my TBR, the next trans book that's on my TBR is actually one of my 5-star draft picks. Oh, that'd be so cute, a big teddy bear. You're a big teddy bear, aren't you, buddy? You're a big old teddy bear. You're a big old teddy bear. But the next book on my TBR is actually one of my 5-star draft picks, which is basically I just pick books that I think are going to be a 5-star read. And at the end of the year, I average out to see if I was actually right about those books. I think the only rules I set for that is no books in a series, because I just feel like a series needs to be, like, not thought about, viewed, like, judged in a different way than standalones do, as well as, like, no reads, because, again, that's something that's going to be judged in a different way than just a first-time standalone book. But it's the Boy with a Bird in His Chest. If you want to transfer over. Why aren't you changing pages? Interesting. That my thing is no longer... Where's my... There we go. Boy with a Bird in His Chest. Okay. So, this book is one that I actually heard about from Jesse on YouTube. Let me read the description, because once you hear the description, it'll make more sense, my description of why I really want to read this book. Okay, so the description of the book is... Suddenly, Owen is forced to flee the home that once felt so confining and hide in plain sight with his uncle and cousin in Washington. I feel like that's the middle of the description, actually. That feels like the start of paragraph 2 of the description of that book. So we're going to check somewhere else. Boy with a bird in his chest. Fur all over me. Yeah, that was paragraph 2. I was right. I was exactly right. That was paragraph 2 of the description. Okay. So, though Owen Tanner has never met anyone else who has a chatty bird in their chest, a medical forum would call him a terror. From the moment Gale emerged between Owen's ribs, his mother knew that she had to hide him away from the world. After a decade spent in hiding, Owen takes a brazen trip outdoors in the middle of a forest fire, and his life is upended forever. Suddenly, Owen is forced to flee... Cat's running around. Suddenly, Owen is forced to flee the home that had once felt so confining and hide in plain sight with his uncle and cousin in Washington. There he feels the joy of finding a family among friends, of sharing the bird in his chest and being embraced fully, of falling in love. Oi! Let's relax, kids. Of falling in love and feeling the devastating heartbreak of rejection before finding a spark of happiness in the most unexpected place. Of living his truth regardless of how hard the thieves of joy may try to tear him down. But the threat of the army of acronyms is a constant, looming presence, making Owen wonder if he'll ever find a way out of the cycle of fear. A heartbreaking yet hopeful novel about the things that make us unique and lovable. The boy with the bird in his chest grapples with fear, depression, and feelings of isolation that come with believing that we will never be loved, let alone accepted for who we truly are, and learning to live fully and openly regardless. So, one of the major things Jesse was talking about when they did their stream on this book, or when they did their review of this book, when they were talking about this book, is the feeling of having something that you don't really know is different about you, but everyone else knows that's different about you, and everyone else doesn't like this, but you just kind of don't understand why. And that is overall the whole thing is supposed to be a trans allegory, but I feel like I connect so much with that description as someone who didn't know I was autistic until I was in my 20s. And so that is a reason why I feel like this book is going to mentally and emotionally destroy me, probably. But also, I really, really, really want to read it. I expect it to be a 5-star. It is one of my high priority reads of the year. I am just overall extremely excited for this book. Next is Pet by Akweki Mezi. If I can get my PowerPoint to show it. There it goes. Okay. Thank you. I was surprised to find out that apparently this book is only 200 pages. Like, I thought this was going to be another, 3 to 400 page big one. But no, it's only 200 pages. I found out when I was making this PowerPoint that it's 200 pages. And then I found out and then I saw it for the first time, the day after someone posted, an Instagram thing where they had that amongst a stack of other books. And it's, this big. And I feel like that feels so doable. That feels like I can just throw it in when I get a chance, whenever I have a little extra space. So that's exciting. But Pet by Akweki Mezi. There are no monsters anymore, or so the children in the city of Lucille are taught. Jam and her best friend Redemption have grown up with this lesson all their lives. But when Jam meets Pet, a creature made of horns and colors and claws who emerges from one of her mother's paintings and a drop of Jam's blood, she must reconsider what she's been told. Pet has come to hunt a monster, and the shadow of something grim lurks in Redemption's house. Jam must fight not only to protect her best friend, but also uncover the truth and the answer to the question, how do you save the world from monsters no one will admit they exist? If no one will admit they exist. In their riveting and timely young adult debut, acclaimed novelist Akweki Mezi asks difficult questions about what choices you can make when the society around you is in denial. I feel like everyone that has any form of book, social medias, book platform talks about this book, and it feels like a rite of passage into reading content to read this book. I want to read this, and then I know Bitter, the prequel, has been out. People have been loving that as well, so I want to read that as well. I definitely feel like I am behind on these books, but again, it's 200 pages. It feels far more within reach than it used to. The other issue though would be how long of a hold is it going to be on my library? Because it could be a decently long hold from my library, and that would be the next thing that would hold me back from being able to read it. But that is another one that it's not as high up on my TBR as The Boy with the Bird in His Chest. I want to read that book this year. I do want to read Pet though, but it might not be. It might be this year. It's only 200 pages. It's only 200 pages. I feel like I should be able to get that in somewhere. up next, for some reason. Okay, up next is The Battle Drum by Sarah Alarifi. Oh, The Boy with the Bird in His Chest sounds so good. Like, I feel like I'm going to be emotionally devastated by the end of it. But like in all of the best ways. I'm going to be a bear, like, I feel like a shell of a human being afterwards. I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to need some solid processing time afterwards, but I want that experience so bad. The Battle Drum is another book. That one's really high on my TBR. I actually have... For me, I discovered I was autistic a year ago? I think a year ago, 2021. It was 2021 that I found out. It's definitely later than I would have liked. So I feel like a lot of the trans allegory in this story, based on the way Jesse described it as being, I will relate to quite a bit. Hey, doing it together. The Battle Drum is the second book to the Final Strife series. I also heard about the Final Strife from Jesse, and oh my god, I'm so obsessed with that book. This one I have pre-ordered. I have the audiobook and the ebook pre-ordered because blended reading helps me out a decent bit, and so I am dying waiting for this book. I'm so excited. I love these characters so much. I'm so excited to see where it goes from here, because at the end of the first book we have them splitting up for one, which hurts my heart, but you know, it makes sense, but I'm still sad about it. So you have that, and then you also have why did I forget her name? Shyla is the one that is going off and adventuring to another land. Wow. The series is called the Ending Fire Trilogy, which I definitely knew about at one point, but I completely forgot that. But Honor is now the apprentice to the warden, and there's going to be a lot of civil rights stuff going on, as well as I'm really interested to see how the author balances what's going to end up being a lot of exposition, because like as Shyla's in this other land, there's going to be... I have 2 books on here. One's thriller and one's horror, but one's like a thriller anthology. If those might be good. I know the author with the horror rep, Freydis Moon. I think she has several other horrors. And I don't know if you have Twitter, but I know on Twitter, under the Trans Rights Readathon label, there were a bunch of trans authors and authors with writing trans rep that have a lot of their books under there, and I saw several horrors. One was body horror, and I didn't get it. It's a free book right now, but I didn't get it because it looked terrifying. It looked so uncomfortable, and I'm baby with horror. Okay, so I need to work my way up to it. Fair. It's rough over there at times. It's exhausting most of the times, even when it's not rough. But like 2 of the things I'm really interested in like wanting to see from the Battle Drum is how the author balances like the exposition of how we got to, of what drove, and like how those people got out to their to the island that they're on, and like why they ended up leaving, how that whole process had, and how balancing that, because that is going to be a lot of exposition. How does the author handle that, as well as Shyla. So Shyla's dealing with her addiction. I really want to see how the author continues with that, as well as specifically, I think I said it before, I don't remember where, but at the end of the first book, you have Shyla kind of finding out that she's always going to have a lot of these symptoms that had been side effects of her aggressive jojoba seed, I think is what they were, abuse. And I want to see how the author handles just like the mental trauma that comes with being in a mentally better place, being in a place where you care about your life, you care about your future, you feel like you have something to live for, but still having to deal with the side effects of things you did when you weren't in that place, and how that can be very re-triggering and re-traumatizing. I have very high hopes that this author is going to be able to handle it really well, and I just can't wait to see that. But yeah, so incredibly excited for this book. When does it come out? Actually? It comes out on May 23rd. It's like 2 months. Literally 2 months from today. LOL. Yeah, that's gonna be exciting. I have so many books to read in so little time. Because I have several arcs that I need to read soon. And then even more books that I would like to read soon. But I have a solid handful of arcs that I actually need to get to. Next is Jack of Thorns by A.K. Faulkner. This is another indie book that I came across this book as like under the hashtag of Trans Rights Readathon. Oh, thank you. I am a super slow reader, so I'm pretty much mentally preparing myself to only be able to read one thing a month, and then if I get more, bonus, rather than overstress myself. But I have been requesting more arcs than I can probably handle. In my defense, though, I currently have like a terrible NetGalley score, and it's only because I only just started using NetGalley. So I have like I've read 3 of my like 8 books that I've ever requested. So it's a low score because I need to read more, because I've just only had the account for a short period of time. So we're getting there. We're gonna eventually get to a better score by actually participating in the site more, which is another thing that's going to make me divert from reading indie books. But I do want to do both, and I do again have multiple indie books, including this one, on my like active TBR. But it's definitely rough. Yeah, thank you. NetGalley is so aggressive. NetGalley stresses me out so much between the emails that they send to be like, hey, drop your reviews every week, between telling me I'm not like my score is not high enough even though I only just got here, and like on the actual NetGalley app, that's where you like would get the audiobooks, right? And seeing the ebooks that are on there have a time limit, it just NetGalley stresses me out so much. But Jack of Thorns, Jack of Thorns. So we have Florist Psychic Addict. Lawrence Riley coasts by on good looks and natural charm, but underneath lies a dark chasm that neither heroine nor lovers can fill. Sobriety is a pipe dream which his stalker ex-boyfriend is pushing him away from. Luckily, Lawrence has powers most can only dream of, if only he can control him. Then, next paragraph, aristocrat psychic survivor. Quentin D'Arcy is the product of centuries of wealth, privilege, and breeding and is on the run from all three. A chance encounter with an arresting young florist with a winning smile could make him stop. Lawrence is kind, warm, and oddly intriguing, but Quentin's wild telekinesis and his fear of sex make dating a dangerous game. And then the next paragraph is, when opposites attract, they collide. Desperate to fix his rotting life, Lawrence prays for aid and accidentally summons a fertility god who prefers to be called Jack. Jack is willing to help out for a price, and it's one Lawrence just can't pay. He must keep Jack fed with regular offerings of sex, and the florist has fallen for one man in San Diego who doesn't want any. If they're to survive Jack's wrath, Lawrence and Quentin must master their blossoming feelings and gifts. But even then, the cost of Lawrence's mistake could overwhelm them both. How exactly are mere mortals supposed to defeat a god? This book sounds super, super interesting. Super interesting. Though I put like a little potion here because in the description I read on a different site, I think it was Storygraph, they did not specify what the drug was, but you know what? The heroine's just gonna be in a pretty bottle today. That sounds terrible. But this book sounds really, really interesting, and it's something that I really love about it is it's a really long series, and I love reading long series. I also am writing a really long series, and it's been a while since I've seen any like new really long series out. And by new, I mean like something from that came out and like has started or like has existed since past my middle school days, because like the long series I have in mind, I have like 3. You have 29 Clues, which would be like a relatively good comp for my books, BT dubs. But I have like 29 Clues. I have the Warrior Cats books. I read an aggressive number of books about cats living in tribes. And like Nancy Drew, those types of books as well. But I feel like I've not seen in a long time just an extremely long series, and this sounds like it's going to be exactly that, and I'm very, very excited to start reading it. At the moment, there are 8 books out. I don't know if there are going to be more, but I would be on board. As long as I like the story, I am fully on board for however many books the author throws at me. Up next, this is the thriller wreck. This is the thriller wreck. Night of the Living Queers, edited by Shelley Page and Alex Brown. As I said earlier, I am a baby when it comes to horror and thrillers. I actually have never read or watched Jurassic Park because the opening scene with the raptors, it's too much. It's too much for me. It does sound like a goofy thriller book. I'm still absolutely stressed about it. I'm hoping I'll survive this book. But yeah, the description of it is, oh, it's only queer authors of color too. We love that. No matter its name or occasion, Halloween is more than a Hallmark holiday. It is a symbol of transformation. Night of the Living Queers is a YA horror anthology that explores how Halloween can be more than just candles and frights, but a night where anything is possible. Each short story can be told through the lens of a different BIPOC teen and the Halloween night that changes their lives forever. Creative, creepy, and queer, this collection will bring fresh terror, heart, and humor to young adult literature. And it says the idea is to bring fresh spins to a lot of to classic horror tropes and tales. It's very possible it could have that kind of vibe. We're hoping. I plan on reading this in June. I have the arc for this. My goal is to read that in June. It comes out August 29th. I guess then it would come out at the beginning of fall. People could read it getting into fall. I guess. I get it. I understand. But I plan on reading it in June because Pride Month. Yeah, it very easily could be more quirky and goofy than like actual terror, actual horror and whatnot. But yeah, I do want to try it. I hope I can sleep afterwards, but we're gonna give it a go. Next up is Juniper Leaves by Jazz Joyner. It does sound fun. It does sound like a good fun time. Juniper Leaves by Jazz Joyner. Okay, the full title is Juniper Leaves, The Otherworldly Tale of a Lonesome Magical Girl. Kinky-haired, blurred Juniper Bray used to believe in magic until she lost her best friend, her grandmother. Now this 15-year-old shy girl is going on her dad's research trip to a farm hundreds of miles away to stay with a family she barely knows and the opposite of a best friend, her new arch-nemesis, Bree McKinney. Little does she know, the next few months, Juniper will discover magical powers she never knew she had, stumble into her first crush, and, well, quite frankly, save the world. Juniper Leaves is a fantastical coming-of-age tale of a girl who learns to let go, live a little, and best of all, believe in herself, all by her 16th birthday. This cover also looks extremely gorgeous. I love this cover. And I think I just, in general, found this under a thread of Black trans books. But I really want to read this. This is one I also want to prioritize as reading this year because like looking into it. It's so hard to find books by trans femmes and trans women, and like and because of that, naturally, it's hard to find books by Black trans femmes and Black trans women, and so I really want to make an effort to actually engage with those communities and read those stories so that way we can hear those voices more, because yeah, that's an issue in book communities, publishing, all of that stuff. Is those are not voices that are as easily available as trans men, trans masc stories. So yeah, this is one I really want to make sure I get to this year. And again, the like stars in the silhouette for this cover, absolutely gorgeous. I'm literally in love. Like the cover was what initially really caught my eye. This is the next book. This is gonna be a really rough one. The Luis Ortega Survival Club. I got this arc. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. It seems like I'm picking good books to check out. I hope I'm picking good books to read. This one is going to be extremely mentally and emotionally devastating. The author was looking for queer, BIPOC, autistic people to try and get to give arcs of this book to, and I happen to hit all three of those marks. And oh my god, is this book going to hit me excruciatingly personally, and again, will not be able to be a functioning human being after I read this. I'm going to need like look at that. I don't know if the author is looking for more people for arcs, but you could check out their maybe also Instagram, but I reached out to them on Twitter to get the book, so you can check it out. But yeah, this book is going to absolutely destroy me. It's going to hit me excruciatingly personally. And it's not going to be the next book I read after I finish Dusk, which I'm hoping to finish next week. But because I have a NetGalley on, it's this book called A Very Gay Book. I got that arc from NetGalley, and so it's a short, not like full picture book, but it's kind of like lots of pictures with some text on it. I I'm going to be emotionally distraught by this book. It's going to destroy me. I have the arc for it, and I'm really not ready. Hi, welcome. But yeah, so I'm gonna finish Dusk by Bov Bandalen, and then I'm going to read this book called Just a Very Gay Book. It's been a fun time right now. It's really just a goofy fun time, and I'm loving it so far, but I do actually need to eventually finish it and then put up the review on NetGalley, because again, they are stalking me, they're harassing me. NetGalley is banging on my door asking for reviews, so we got to get to that. Gonna read that, and then we're going to hop into the Luis Ortega Survival Club, which, here's the description for it. Ariana Ruiz wants to be noticed, but as an autistic girl who never talks, she goes largely ignored by her peers despite her bold fashion choices. So when cute, popular Louise starts to pay attention to her, Ari finally feels seen. Louise's attention soon turns to something more, and they have sex at a party. While Ari didn't say no, she definitely didn't say yes. Before she has a chance to process what happened and decide if she even has the right to be mad at Louise, the rumor mill begins churning. Thanks, she's sure, to Louise's ex-girlfriend, Shawnee. Boys at school now see Ari as an easy target, someone who won't say no. Then Ari finds a mysterious note in her locker, which eventually leads her to an unlikely group of students determined to expose Louise for the predator he is. To her surprise, she finds genuine friendship among the group, including her growing feelings for the very last girl she expected to fall for. But in order to take Louise down, she'll have to come to terms with the truth of what he did to her that night and risk everything to see justice done. Yeah, this book is going to be a very, very, this is gonna hurt to read, but I definitely am a person who needs to read it. Dusk, it's not zombies, it's warlocks, actually. So in the story, you have humans and warlocks who are like barely, I can't remember if they're at war or if they're like on the brink of war. And you have a trans boy who escaped his village and is going undercover at a boys' school, but the potion he uses to transform into a male form is technically like illegal or something of that sort. And so he's at this school trying to follow his dream that he's always wanted to go to this school, while also like not getting caught and keeping in mind the fact that like war is happening and whatnot. So that is a really good book. I am loving that book so far. Yeah, this book the Luis Ortega Survival Club also sounds like it's going to be such a good book. It's going to be a book that I personally is a great book for me to read. It's going to also be like a good book to exist and be accessible for so many young people, and just it's oh my god, I'm already like emotionally distraught over the book just from the description. So I'm really excited to read it. Again, we'll need like 2 to 5 business weeks just to emotionally process it. Oh, the anticipation of being destroyed by a book. And then when it happens, it's just relief while also being, again, mentally and emotionally destroyed. Yeah, we're going to need some time to process this one afterwards, but I'm very excited. This is going to be, again, not the next book that I read, but the book I read after that, because it comes out, I think this comes out in May 23rd as well. Is that a Tuesday? Because I think that's the thing. I think publishing releases books on Tuesday. No, that's yes, it is a Tuesday. Publishing habits. It's hilarious. It feels so like odd to say like I'm super excited to be like mentally and emotionally wrecked by a book, but also like sometimes those are feelings you need to get out, and especially with the state of existence and the world right now, like I feel like it's fair to say like those like some feelings are definitely brewing, and to have a book that can be a catalyst to just get it out, to just cry it out, something to help you like express, to trigger you to express those emotions. I feel like that's a good thing. I feel like we can appreciate those, that for those purposes. Then the last book that I have on my TBR is Heart Haunt Havoc by Freitas Moon. This author, I know, this book right here is a horror. I don't know how intense of a horror. I'm still gonna try it. The Other Side of Night. Interesting. I will check that out. I will definitely check that out if... Oh god. Who was the author? Because I'm just seeing two. I'm seeing two books with that same title of The Other Side of Night. I mean, of course, I won't read it for Readathon, but like, I'm a very slow reader. I will not finish the book that I'm currently reading within the duration of the week. Got it. So I will save that. But yeah, I'm a slow reader. I'm not going to be able to finish the book that I'm currently reading. And that is one of the authors that came up for it. I'll probably finish it. Like, I'm hoping to finish the book that I'm currently reading next week. But I'm well aware that I'm probably not going to finish anything else. And even if I were able to miraculously finish, because I've had a decent amount more time than I usually do to read, mostly because I've had like some severe allergic reactions this week, and that kind of made me out of action for a good couple days. And but even if I were able to read it, because I did have a relatively decent head start, I think the next book I would read would either be Juniper Leaves, or I would blended read the the Memory Librarian. I think that's the one by Janelle Monáe. I think I'd blended read that. But yeah. Ooh, I haven't read anything by them yet. But yeah, I've definitely seen a ton of different books of theirs as they've been promoting for Trans Rights Readathon, as they should. And they definitely have a lot of things that seem super interesting. What was the other one that... From the actor from Hidden Figures. Is that the person who wrote it? Are y'all breaking things in there? My cats are breaking things. Is that the person who wrote it? The actor from Hidden Figures? Yes. Yes. That's what you're talking about. Yes. Janelle Monáe had the album Dirty Computer, and that's what the Memory Librarian is kind of based on or around, something to that effect. I think it is also a series of short stories that they wrote. But yeah, I guess I did not know that they were in Hidden Figures. Look at that. But yeah, they have several books out that seem super interesting. I've also seen them promoting Exodus 23. But this is a horror. This book right here is a horror, and then they have another book called With a Vengeance that also, I believe, is also a horror, and it's got a like hyper realistic... Look at that. Yeah, I actually have not seen that movie. I haven't watched a ton of movies. I'm bad with movies. I don't have the attention span for movies, honestly. But yeah, this, and then With a Vengeance is another one that I'm like 99% sure are horror from this author. And then also you said They have another one. Oh, is Exodus 23 the one that's the other haunted house book that they have? Because there's definitely a house in the background of this one. But the description of Haunt Havoc says it's laced with romance, gothic imagery, Catholic mysticism. Wow, that was rough to say. Diaspora and horror. When lonely transgender exorcist Colin Hart finds himself challenged by an unruly haunted house in Gideon, Colorado, he's kept awake by ghosts, demons, ghouls, and the handsome non-binary owner of the house, Bishop Martinez. Unlike the simple hauntings Colin is accustomed to, Bishop's house is a living beacon, attracting a plethora of inhuman creatures, including a vengeful, wolf-headed spirit who might be the key to quieting their sleepless nights. But as a heartbreaking mystery unravels, Colin comes face to face with the past Bishop tried to bury, opens a closet full of bloody skeletons, and trips into an accidental romance. As paranormally skilled as Colin might be, this particular haunting may be too messy for him to handle. A Lady for a Duke? I have not heard of that. Let me see if I can find it. And let's... A Lady for a Duke. This cover looks familiar, so maybe I have. When Viola Carroll was presumed dead at Waterloo, she took the opportunity to live at last as herself, but freedom does not come without a price, and Viola paid for hers with the loss of her wealth, her title, and her closest companion, Justin de Vere, the Duke of Gracewood. Only when their families reconnect years after the war does Viola learn how deep that loss truly was. Shattered without her, Gracewood has retreated so far into grief that Viola barely recognizes her old friend in the lonely, brooding man he has become. As Viola strives to bring Gracewood back to himself, fresh desires give new names to old feelings, feelings that would have been impossible once and may be impossible still, but which Viola cannot deny, even if they cost her everything all over again. That sounds cute. I haven't read a ton of historical fiction books, but the ones that I did love, I love the vibe of historical fiction. So I'll definitely also... I won't make like a whole spread for it, but I will add this also to my TBR. Yeah, that sounds super cute. Yeah, these were all the books that I had set up to talk about today as my trans books on my TBR. Very excited. A lot of these are, I actually think most of these are books that I already own. So they'll definitely, I'll get to them eventually. A good handful of them are like highly intend to read this year. So it's gonna be a good time. Thank you guys for coming. Oh, absolutely fair. Moving takes a lot. And the most I could do is just streaming. Because it basically doesn't have much of a like ahead of time prep to do, especially because it's only a week and I only found out about it like late last week. I mean, yeah, reading the books and sporting them later, always helpful. Hopefully, if there weren't books that you already knew about, hopefully you found like one or two that you might also find interesting. I've definitely been getting like a lot of like seeing recommendations of a lot of books everywhere that all sound super, super, super interesting. So we've definitely been gathering those. Oh, yeah. Chronic illness. Thank you for joining me. But yeah, I have so many things. I could never read a book really in just a week. Time, mental health, time. I also have like other like so many other projects going on. I could never finish a book in just a week. So readathons in general stress me out. I don't really participate, but wanted to try and do something for this one since I didn't necessarily have to read a bunch of books for it. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. That's all I have for right now. So have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have a rest of your day. I don't know time zones. But yeah, thanks. I'll see y'all later. Bye.